All right, good morning. Well, they made it to the top of the range, and this is where the heavy lifting starts. If and it's Friday, and can they take it to the top beyond that? That's the big question. Charts. I always forget the charts. What would we do without charts? We'd be lost. We'd be out of business. Here we go. All right. Good morning, Brian, on YouTube. All right. So, as I was saying, top of the range here, and it's Friday. Do they want to press it? I don't think they're going to press it. If they do, I don't think it's going to get very far. Maybe 4,200 is a possibility on the outside. As you can see, kind of rejecting that 41.74.75 area like it did yesterday when it got up there. So it's a pretty stiff area. It fell real hard from there, but it's made a higher low. And I think, look, today, probably going to get stuck in here. I think for the most part, we'll see. 41.50 was support, and breaks below that. Well, you can see there's nothing to stop it from going down. So that could feed on itself. And so in other words, we just may be stuck in here today. We'll see. And as I said, if it can get through this area, I can drag that down a little bit. I think it could maybe get a pop up to 4,200. Right now, it's just jiggling around there. We'll see how it plays out. For SPX, there's some premium up there at I think you can go 42.15. I think there's nothing to the left there, but getting beyond 4,200, I think if it can do it, it would be momentary. And again, of course, it's got to get through here to begin with, which it hasn't done. The S&Ps haven't done it yet, so pretty big whole number, and I think that'll be the sticking point. So above that, last I looked, it was 55/70. So you got enough premium and far enough away. And down below, I think it's best to wait to see, how things open up here. You can go down to 4,100. But that juice might expand quite a bit if this can get through. Again, in the futures, it was 41.50. So 41.50, probably pretty close to the same, give or take. This low right here, let's just see. Yeah, so you can see the pivot low and that area down there. If it starts to break, always the timing factor of when. So initially, we'd wanted to see it happen, 10 o'clock-ish or before. Maybe it happens right at the open where it starts to come in. And so I don't know that it would break that level because, it's a pivot and support. As I said, I think it's be in the range. If it starts to drop below that, there isn't a lot to stop it, as you can see, because of the way it went up. So yeah, we have that. Oliver on YouTube is saying more than 1 trillion has been dumped into the markets through repo since Monday. Okay, so more liquidity. Markets went up. Now what? I read yesterday that there's some politicians that are now talking. They want another stimulus check. They want people to be dependent on the government, not go to work, I guess. And you see all this news about people can't find people to work, and the government wants to employ the whole country. Strange things going on. All right, Qs. 330. It's going to be it is a big sticking area. There's big open interest there and the puts and the calls. And I think it's reached its destination. Up here, there's a void. So if it was to get through it, you might get a little blast up there, but you can see it's just jiggling around over here. And, similar pattern as what we saw in SPY, and how it kind of reached this level yesterday and then began to accelerate and then just flattened out. So, down below here opens up the door to a deeper move. But again, as we covered yesterday in the morning, we've got a trading range going on here. So, title in YouTube as to, the heavy lifting begins as to whether, this move off of the low, being a technical bounce, can get any further than where it is. The weekly chart's looking pretty darn good. It's Friday morning, you've got a whole day to go, but a second bottoming tail bar, in an area of support. Just thinking patterns and, in my head, I'd love to see a third bar here, which could be an inside bar next week of trading within this range. That could be an ideal pattern of consolidating after the drop and getting far enough away from these areas over here to make a more meaningful move. But as always, we'll have to see how that plays out. As of for now, I think the upside is reached its, greatest potential, even though it might wiggle around a little bit more. I'd be surprised to see it do anything of, significance here, but maybe it can get up into that area. All right. NQs, where the futures are at there, just kind of gyrating up there, up at the highs. I'll just move that up. It's right at the 20 MA, kind of caught between the 50 and the 20 here. And really not much to stop it from going up. And as we look over to the left there, and not much to stop it from going down either, if it breaks below these lows. So it's traveled quite a ways over the last couple of days, to these areas. So, the bulk of the move for this week, the bounce, again, I think is about had it. The Russell just whipped back and forth. Steve's saying right along that old trend line I had on my chart. I don't know what to say about that, Steve. You're drawing lines on your charts. All right, I know you guys just love to kind of stick it in the back of my head a little bit with these lines, but I get it. It's all in fun. All right. So this is kind of just churning, rather than being flat. So this might be, as far as on the long side of what could lead the way, I think it could be the Russell that does it as far as some upside goes. And, the same old story, pivot low, it shouldn't break that. Breaking below that, I think, things get a little messy. And so as far as I like this wide range bar and what we call a 1, 2, 3, 4 continuation pattern. Now, ideally, these happen at the beginning of a move, but since this has got a void above, let me explain a little bit more, because this is kind of textbook where, it's bottomed out here. We've got a topping tail that was ignored after the fact. Of course, we didn't know it would be, but we got a bottoming tail bar, and then a wide range bar and an inside bar. And this bar takes out the low of the inside bar. So taking out this high is what we call a 1, 2, 3, 4 continuation pattern, and it's got room to go up. So I think that is something to consider. At the open, kind of it's a bull flag where it's gone up. Looking at the pattern on the 5 minute, and just kind of kind of that slanting kind of pattern, which is, the flag where it pops up and pops down and so on. So that's something that might be a little short-term trade there. And bonds, they were, kind of been a non-event all week, doing nothing. That's a 30-year, and here's the 10-year. So we'll see which way they go. They got this big topping tail there, and just, pivot highs against pivot lows, moving averages, intersecting the middle of prices. The message is just stay away and wait for this to clear one way or the other. I guess it'll happen next week. Oil coming back after, that drop, moving up, and coming up to resistance. Another pattern that is suggesting, not going to get very far before sellers begin to come in. But that's a classic new low reversal pattern where, downtrend, sideways, break down belows and turn around, really gets the shorts to, buy the cover, right? Just put yourself in the pattern and think, oh, well, you sold the breakdown and now it's right back up again. What are you going to do? And if you recognize that and notice that it's coming into an area of support and you see that kind of pattern, press the buy button. And gold continues to be strong, just doing nicely at that resistance area. And silver, just kind of hanging. And this Bitcoin is such in the news. We've been looking at it the past few days, and it had that. And yesterday we spoke about this potentially would be ideal for a W type of pattern, where I spoke about, was that a W on the equities charts? And I was like, no, it's not a W. It's forming a trading range, because it's the start of a move down here. It's not like Bitcoin that, had the start of its move, it had its bounce, and then the acceleration, right, down to the 200, which is aligned with this prior low there. And this could form maybe a W going into the next week or so. So that we'll keep an eye on that. And what else? Always the transports. Kind of hanging here. So keep an eye on this. Set an alert below that low down there. Another trading range, which now we see they're pretty much everywhere. And, week before this, right, we talked about this narrowing range, narrow bodied bar, and the stolen momentum, and it's had a heck of a run. And now we're getting this red bar, and this has been the leader. So, one of the comments from, I guess, a week or so ago was money rotating out of, what's been doing well, which could be some Dow stocks and transport stocks. Not that they're going to collapse, but rotating into technology. And, we've seen some of that. I think it's got a long way to go. Now it's at the top of the range, but maybe that continues, and we'll see how today shapes up and into next week. So I think for the most part, trading range upside is going to be capped today for the most part. And unless things can break below those support levels that we looked at, it could be a boring day. IWM put spread for next week at 210. Let's see. IWM. I think that's a reasonable bet, McGraw. Yeah. It's just been in a big trading range, and we really don't have information to suggest any imminent collapse here. That's for sure. So I think that's a good bet. Sure. 2,000 for 50 cents. What was that on, McGraw? I read that late. Is that for the Russell? I guess so. Yeah. RUT. What's the symbol for that? I don't know if I get RUT.
Of course, why would you not?
I don't know. I haven't looked at it in a long time. All right.
Yeah, McGraw was right. I looked at RUT. It does have Monday, Wednesday, Friday, although IWM does not. So that's,
That's a no-brainer. That's a no for is that for today, McGraw?
no.
Or next week? Next week. Well, I mean, if you want to get in there ahead of time, but I think it's a no-brainer. I mean, look, if it broke through these pivots, something nasty is going to happen, but it's so far away and a big whole number totally makes sense to me. So yeah, let me throw this up here. Shame on me for not having that there. 310 for the Qs. Next week. Everything next week. I get it. Well, I would wait for a little later in the day just to see if this breaks. Because if it does, it's going to drop and then the premium's going to get pretty juicy. So I wouldn't do it early on, but since you got a whole week of time premium to deal with, what's the rush? But sure, it makes sense. Why is RUT delayed? I would say it's delayed because I don't subscribe to wherever it comes from. It's probably one of the reasons why I don't look at it. I don't know where it comes from. I mean, I get all this other stuff that's in real time, but I don't know. I have to look into that with eSignal. I mean, this platform, I've been using it for, I don't know, maybe 20 years, and it's freaking expensive, but I'm used to it and it doesn't connect. Well, it connects to brokerage firms, but they don't pay for anything like TradeStation, So anyway, that's what I use. I'll look into this. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. Is that what got in the video rocking? Is a silly stock split? That is just absolutely amazing to me. That reminds me of the internet days in the 90s. And like Dell Computer was the poster child. It was in a 10-year like bull run. Remember, Michael, what's his name? Michael, whatever, made his computers in his college dorm, and the Dell, of course, duh, Michael Dell, duh, Michael Dell had an amazing story, and every time that thing would announce a stock split, just buy it. I mean, so now, the funny thing is, folks, so you could do the calculation. Let's just call it a $20 pop right there. So that's a 20 divided by 600 is what, a third of 1%. And did their market value just go up because of stock split has absolutely nothing to do with total shareholder wealth. It's just more shares, cheaper price, but it's just you're trading people, and that's amazing. We were going to do a put spread on this yesterday, but it had earnings next week, but that was a beautiful pattern. All right, all our opens are fine. Wow, look at this, Greg. We got to do a lesson on relative weakness. Because these shorts that we picked, they just are not bouncing with the market. So look at this thing gapping down again. Frank, your drop down. So we still have a few shorts left, directional, and they're all doing fine. We're just in trail mode. The only bear call credit spread we have in the swing letter, I mean the weekly options trader, is Home Depot here. We did it today's Friday. We did it Wednesday on the gap down out of the money call spread. And, I sent out an alert saying if it trades over yesterday's high after 10 minutes, I don't want to do anything because it could very easily blip it and then, get shake and bake around with the market gap up again. But I'm going to keep an eye on this to leg into a condor. But everything else looks great. We got a couple of new ideas for you. TAN was strong yesterday. SPWR is on my radar. Fizzler. There's a number of these. Run. A number of these look like they're ready to bounce a little bit. Let's see here. Thomas, Cisco, INO. Cisco, that's what we call a bear gap that bullies. You got a big old price void on the daily, so I don't know. I have no idea what you're asking me. If it's swing, if it's day trade long, day trade short, I have no idea what you are thinking. Thomas, INO. Bottoming pattern. Bottoming where there's a number of these we've been watching. We got into a couple of nice put spreads yesterday. Netflix, we did Facebook. We have SMH expiring full profit today. PayPal on full profit today. CCL, yeah, I posted as a put spread. I just think I saw the headline that they're going to start some cruise ships up. I don't know, June or July, but out of Seattle going to Alaska. So I took a look at them. Our triple D here, core trade, looks great. I love it. A plug I'm watching as a core trade. It had earnings last night. Now I like triple D a whole lot better because it had a better turn and it's not at resistance. But this one's a buy setup on the monthly also. But it's on my watch list. All right, NVIDIA we talked about. Shoot. Airbnb. Somebody emailed me this morning and said, "Hey Dan, downgrade on Airbnb to 1.25. Can I sell a call spread on it?" I said, "No way. It's a climactic buy setup. It's a gap reversal, 1, 2, 3." So I actually posted it. If it can take out this pre-market high yesterday, like just because I want a little bit more than yesterday's high, I want I want it to get above this thing. And then we'll look to sell a put spread. Oh, you see 524? That very well could be Austin, but it says, wow, Q's ripping right here. Pre-market new high. Because I was shocked it didn't move more, Austin, but TC2000 showed a 520. Postage here, another little bottoming stock. We might be able to get a short-term trade out of it. I've never heard of this thing, JZXN. TC said some auto truck company or whatever. 30-minute high though. 30-minute high. This could be a day trade. Splunk here up on earnings. I like this one a lot for a put spread. Let's see how that acts in the morning. Coin. Let's watch this for a 0 DTE put spread. CCL we spoke about. AT&T got an upgrade, but no pattern. Oh, it's our VIAC gapping up a little bit. We bought that long yesterday as a gap breakout. And W, huge gap, way the heck up here. But that's a very bullish gap right there. AMAT was green pre-market. Now it gave it up at resistance, so nothing to do there. AINV, I don't like the way it trades. ENS, nothing there. Maxin, bottoming pattern. Now it's gapping down, bottoming pattern. But if it can negate the gap and get back up here, then I like it because then it'll be a gap reversal. So let me set an alarm. Let's just call it 1830. Maxin. 30. All right, you're set. Deck had earnings gapping up to 331. McGraw, maybe Condor. Let's come back to that in 30 minutes. Low, couple prints to the downside. Deer gapping up, but gapping up to a wall of resistance, and it's good. It looks very toppy to me on the weekly and monthly. That's what these two little charts are. Look at that. If you've been in this thing from 150 to 400, now you got topping tails, breakout failure, price void. That's a short on a bounce. That I'm gonna keep it back on my list. BFC gapping down. It's slopping all over the place, but that's a bearish gap. We'll come back to it, but probably no interest. Otley here, Oatly, oatmeal, whatever. This was a IPO yesterday. It's a European dairy company. Getting a nice pre-market gap. We'll keep an eye on it. I like IPOs. Space, I was watching with yesterday's gap up. You know, I actually like when these take a couple days to set up. UONE. Do you remember that? This is a black-owned radio station. And because there were like three of them. See this here? This thing ripped. That's not a bad tail. That went from 5 to 55 when Congress was in the middle of all this BLM stuff and, you know, let's give minorities money and, you know, so on and so forth. No, well, it might be. There's three of them. I remember there was three black-owned. It could be Austin. Yeah, one of them. You're right. One of them was they owned a couple regional banks, but another one was black-owned radio station. But in any event, I don't know what got this thing ripping the last 2 days. Nothing to do with it now, though. And see, that's just another example of you trade people. BLM, Congress is going to come to the rescue with programs which are going to help the companies. Well, go see what companies you think will benefit from that news. Rost, it's a bullish gap, but absolutely no pattern. Florida, Florida 30-minute high over yesterday's high. I like. McGraw, this is yours, ZBH from yesterday. McGraw 30-minute high, ZBH. I like. Hack. We entered hack yesterday. We entered hack. IHI we did not, but Fungu we did. UNH I posted as a put spread. IIVI we entered. Look, this looks fantastic. Nice price void. Target the 50 MA, $70 ish. It's just a area, but that looks great.